This is Sarah Connelly's video blog series, helping you accelerate your collective and personal transformation with systemic intelligence.
The first thing that facilitators need is an understanding of organisations, the context, that world, the language, how business actually functions. You'll lose credibility very quickly if you do not have a certain degree of gravitas and business astuteness. With this work, you're introducing something very, very different. So you need to be holding the space in a way that gives them confidence in the material, and showing that you know and understand their domain is important. So some sort of background in organisational development or consulting to businesses where you really understand the nuances in that world, so that you're not showing up naively in the space. So you need to be able to stand in a leadership position so that you can lead them through the work. That's not to take over, but you can step into that authority. You need to be able to educate them around systemic thinking, dynamics, principles and applications, so that they get buy-in. If the leap is too much, they won't buy in. So you've got to create the concept credibility with them in a way that they can connect with it. And then you've got to provide the kind of support that will lead to a good outcome in the process. So the second thing, and this is in many ways the crucial thing, is the mindset and the consciousness that you bring. And I'll go into that more deeply because there's so many distinctive elements to that that's important. But suffice to say, you need to unlearn many of the mindsets and practices that you normally would use in organisational development work. I'm pleased to say that mindfulness has gained such a large spot in the territory that that's a very useful frame. But certainly the depth to which you need to go in terms of having a non-judgmental mindset and an openness even to you not knowing what the answer is, that's a crucial piece. And then thirdly, you need the tools, skills and techniques where you understand systems principles, systems dynamics, and the processes that we use to reveal the systemic intelligence and how you actually tune into a system and explore what's present in the system. So those are the three key areas that you need to address to develop the capability to be a systemic intelligence facilitator in organisations. The first thing is non-judgmental. And this can be quite a challenge because I think a lot of people have judgmental views, both societally as well as professionally, of organisations and the people within it. And if we're going to serve that system, we cannot afford judgments about that system, particularly when we're doing systemic work. So that's a number one. It's really important that you have a great sense of your own inner compass in the work. So you really need to have a sense of who you are and what purpose you're pursuing with doing the work, because this acts as a fundamental reference point. Because when you step into the systemic work, it's really important that you are open to anything. You're open that you don't know. In fact, that's a key thing, that you can do the work knowing all of your knowledge, your skills, your tools and your techniques, but at the same time letting go of knowing so that you can actually listen to the system's knowing. So interestingly, there's a trap here for us as consultants, because if you've worked in organisations and done a lot of consulting, you will have become expert at analysis and differentiation. This is a key prerequisite for being a good consultant. People turn to you and look to you for your expert advice and your expert knowledge. Well, we have to unlearn that in this work, because what's key is we don't actually know. And if we're really to listen to the system, it for sure is going to reveal things that we have no knowledge about at all. And so we've got to give up this comfort that we get from being an expert who knows. And so that's considerable unlearning. And I think if you ask the graduates of the training, they'd say that's one of the tough things to unlearn, is to be able to go completely into an empty center, what we call an empty center. Listen from all of the sensory data that comes to you through your body, through your consciousness, through your feelings, through your sense perceptions. And that has to be in the first position to inform you, and your mind is actually in the second position. So for most of us, the mind's in the first position and our body's in the second position. Well, we're reversing that with this work. So that's quite a developmental pathway of its own. So this also provokes you needing to do actually quite a bit of work on yourself to understand first of all, what goes on in your own system? What's your relationship with your family system? What are the dynamics that are present in your system? What are the tendencies that you already have? What blind spots do you have? So getting to intimately understand your own system and the system's dynamics in your own system, so that you have actually your own in-body experience of what happens when you see and understand your system differently. This gives you confidence in the work, and that's one of the things that the training has to do, is actually build your confidence that these systems dynamics and these tools and techniques and skills actually make a difference, so that you can stand in the work with that kind of confidence. So there's a lot of work to be done on your own system. There's also looking at how you show up in organisational systems, because for sure that will all get provoked when you go in to serve an organisational system. So there's considerable work for you to be done to understand what systems dynamics play out in you and how do they affect the way you show up in a system, and how they affect the way you listen to a system and facilitate a system. So there's considerable work to be done there. You also need to be very good at holding space, and holding space in a very specific kind of way, because you're holding space for the system to reveal itself. You're holding space for dynamics to emerge. You're holding space so that your client feels held, even though what might be happening is revealing things that the client doesn't want to see or look at, or feels, is difficult for them to digest. So, but in reality, you're holding space in service of the system. You're serving your client in the sense that if they have come with a question or a difficulty and they're wanting to find a way forward, that may mean they have to face harsh truths that are difficult for them to face. So you're holding space for that as well. So it also means you're holding space with the belief that your client can handle it. And so you've also got a sense into the field in terms of what support or resources do they need to be able to look at it and deal with it. So you can see it's a very rich area of mindset and consciousness. And in fact, this is where the power lies in the work. You can teach the tools and techniques and skills, but if you don't have the mindset and consciousness, it lands on very shallow ground. You can know all you know about organisations, but if you don't, in fact, that can be a trap, because if you have history with organisations, you can have a lot of judgments and positions on things, which this work will for sure test and potentially unravel. So in many ways, doing this work is your evolution of your consciousness, that you will be very attuned to your own personal system, start to see collective systems with completely new eyes, and actually start to bow down in respect to the universal forces at play, and realise there's much more at play in systems than we are. And so we are a guest in a system. So how can we hold the position of being invited to be a guest in a system while we provide service to the system? And then we need to know when to leave and how to leave the system, so we leave with respect and dignity. So quite a lot there in terms of the mindset and consciousness of a facilitator in this work.
If you're seeking to add systemic intelligence to your professional repertoire, let's talk. Contact Sarah through ea@sarahconnelly.com.